It started in the middle of breakfast. A man in his 70s reached for his coffee mug, but his hand didn't move. His mind was shouting, "Pick it up!" Yet his body stayed still. Within seconds, his wife noticed his cup tipping, spilling down his sleeve. She didn't panic. She remembered one simple movement I taught her just weeks before. That motion helped her recognize what was happening, call for help, and save her husband's life before the clock ran out. By the end of this video, you'll learn the exact hand movement that can detect a stroke in seconds, before it steals your speech, your mobility, or your independence. This isn't just theory. This is a test neurologists use in hospitals worldwide, and it could save your life or someone you love. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn takes 30 seconds to perform and could mean the difference between full recovery and permanent damage. Most people think strokes strike out of nowhere, but in truth the body often gives a quiet warning, one that begins in the hands, a tremor, a pause, a delay between thought and movement. When you know how to spot and test it, you can recognize a stroke before it steals time. And that matters deeply because millions of older adults around the world are silently suffering from something far more serious than just blurry vision or weakness. We're talking about eyes that sting when you read, hands that hesitate when you reach, legs that feel unsteady when you walk. I've met people who were once independent, confident drivers who now avoid going out at night because they feel unsafe. Others tell me they can't grip a pen without dropping it, or they've given up activities they love because their hands just don't respond anymore. And many say something that truly breaks my heart. "I'm scared because I feel like I'm slowly losing control." Does that sound familiar? If so, I want you to know you're not imagining it. And you're certainly not alone. What you're experiencing isn't just aging. It's often the result of years of poor circulation, inflammation, and nerve damage quietly affecting the connection between your brain and your hands. But here's the good news. There's a way to test that connection. Right now, wherever you are, let me show you. When people hear hand movement, they think of arthritis, stiffness, or maybe exercise. But your hand is actually a window into the brain. Every movement your hand makes, from gripping a cup to buttoning a shirt, starts in the motor cortex of the brain. When a stroke begins, that connection between the brain and the hand is one of the first to falter. It's almost like a short circuit. The brain sends the signal, but the message gets lost along the way. That means the earliest signs of a stroke might not start with slurred speech or drooping cheeks, but with something as subtle as hesitation in the hand. In fact, studies from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders have shown that micro-delays in finger movement can appear up to an hour before a stroke becomes full-blown. Most people ignore them because they seem harmless. A dropped pen, a missed button, or the hand feeling lazy for a moment. But that's the brain whispering for help. Think of the brain like a city. The blood vessels are highways, and the neurons are cars carrying messages. When a clot blocks one lane, traffic slows down. You don't feel the whole body stop, just a delay in one small intersection. Like the hand. That's why neurologists often ask patients to raise both arms or squeeze their fingers during an exam. If one hand lags even by a second, it tells us where the blockage might be. And that's where this hand movement test comes in. It's not just a reflex check. It's a conversation with your brain. When you perform it, you're asking, "Are my neural highways clear?" If the signal comes back delayed, that's your cue to act immediately. Let's get into it. The movement that could save your life. It's called the grip and release test. Simple, fast, and backed by neurology. Here's how you do it. Raise both hands to shoulder height, palms facing out. Then slowly open and close your fingers, almost like squeezing an invisible ball. Do this 10 times. You're not testing strength, you're testing symmetry. If one hand moves slower, feels stiff, or doesn't obey instantly, that's a red flag. Here's what's happening behind the scenes. When you open and close your hand, hundreds of nerve signals travel from the motor cortex down the spinal cord, through the radial and ulnar nerves, and finally into those tiny finger muscles. If any part of that pathway is starved of oxygen, say from a small clot, the rhythm breaks. One side feels out of sync. Sometimes people describe it as their hand forgetting the pattern. It's not just about whether your hand moves. It's about whether it moves in time. Like two musicians playing the same song, one just half a beat behind. That half-beat delay is what neurologists look for. In Japan, we've used this test for years as a quick home screening, because when the hand hesitates, the brain is already signaling trouble. Studies from Kyoto University showed that in adults over 60, this grip and release test detected early motor cortex dysfunction in over 70% of stroke cases, before other symptoms appeared. That's the tragedy, isn't it? Most people wait for the dramatic signs, slurred words, a fallen face, when the body often whispers first through the fingers. The hand speaks before the mouth does. That's why I tell people, never ignore a stubborn button, a mug that slips, or a sudden feeling that one hand just isn't listening. It doesn't always mean a stroke is happening, but it's a signal worth checking. So what should you do if you notice that lag while doing this test? Stop, sit, and act fast. Call emergency services immediately. Don't wait for it to pass. The window for stroke treatment, the golden hour, can make the difference between recovery and permanent loss. This is more than a test. It's a lifeline. Something every senior can do right now, wherever they are, in under 30 seconds. And here's what makes it powerful. No machines, no cost, just awareness, and perhaps a second chance at life. But this test isn't just for detection. It's also for prevention. When you perform this movement regularly, you're doing something remarkable. You're stimulating the brain-hand connection. Every time you open and close your hand with intention, you're sending powerful sensory feedback to the brain. That feedback keeps the motor cortex active, the neural pathways sharp, and the blood vessels supplying those areas open and flexible. Think of it as exercise for your brain's wiring. When you move the hand rhythmically, you increase blood flow through the radial and ulnar arteries, which improves oxygen delivery to the neurons that control coordination and reflexes. Over time, this constant engagement trains the brain to maintain communication with those muscles, even under stress. In neuroscience, we call this neurovascular coupling, when better blood flow supports better nerve performance. Studies from the Journal of Cerebral Blood Flow and Metabolism show that even 2 minutes of rhythmic hand movement increases oxygenation in the motor cortex by up to 15%. That may sound small, but for an aging brain, it's enormous. It means neurons stay alive, responsive, and less likely to deteriorate under stress. That might also explain why seniors who keep their hands active through knitting, piano, or even gardening tend to maintain sharper reflexes and clearer thinking. Those activities keep both sides of the brain communicating through the corpus callosum, the bridge between hemispheres. The more balanced your hand movements are, the more synchronized your brain remains. That synchronization protects against cognitive decline, motor slowness, and even depression, which is often linked to reduced neural activity. So the same motion that could save your life during a stroke might also slow aging in your nervous system. That's the hidden gift of awareness. When you perform this small act daily, you're not just exercising muscles. You're feeding the brain, you're improving its reaction time, keeping your vessels healthy, and reminding your nervous system that you're still in control. That's empowering. A simple 30-second ritual that keeps the brain alert, blood flowing, and confidence strong. And that's exactly what aging well means. Not waiting for decline, but keeping the body's communication lines alive through movement and attention. So when's the best time to do this hand test? Should you wait until something feels off, or make it part of your daily routine? Make it a routine. Waiting for symptoms is like waiting for smoke before checking your wiring. This movement is both a checkup and a tune-up. Do it at least twice a day. Once in the morning when the body is waking up, and once in the evening when circulation begins to slow. Morning practice re-energizes the brain. Evening practice keeps the blood flowing before rest. Here's why those two moments are so important physiologically, because circulation changes with the body's rhythm, After a night's rest, blood flow can be sluggish. The small arteries that feed the hands and brain need a gentle push to open fully. And at night, when we sit more and move less, blood tends to pool in the extremities. Doing the movement at those times reactivates the pump that sends oxygen back upward. It's a reset for both your hands and your brain. And consistency matters more than duration. You don't need long sessions. 30 seconds of deliberate motion is enough. 10 slow squeezes, relax, 10 more. The key is mindfulness. Watch how your hands behave. Are they symmetrical? Are they fluid? You're not just exercising, you're observing. Those small differences from day to day tell you how your nervous system is doing, almost like a daily status report from the brain itself. And it fits anywhere. While watching television, waiting for water to boil, or before getting out of bed. The goal is rhythm, not effort. A steady pulse of motion that reminds the vessels to stay open and the neurons to stay alert. Now let's talk about the biggest mistakes seniors make when it comes to this hand movement or recognizing early stroke signs. The first mistake is thinking that small changes don't matter. Many seniors notice their fingers fumbling with buttons, keys slipping, handwriting looking strange, and they dismiss it as normal aging. But the truth is, strokes rarely arrive unannounced. They whisper first. Ignoring that whisper is what costs time, and time is brain. The second mistake is waiting for pain. A stroke doesn't hurt. It confuses. You might feel dizzy, weak, or strangely detached from your own body. The hand might not obey, yet there's no ache to warn you. Seniors often wait for pain as confirmation something is wrong, but by then, the opportunity to intervene is gone. So lack of pain doesn't mean safety. It means danger in silence. The third mistake is testing too aggressively. Some people hear grip test and start squeezing hard or shaking their hands quickly. That's not the goal. This isn't strength training. It's observation, gentle, rhythmic, controlled. You're listening to your body, not forcing it. And another big one is skipping the movement on good days. Many think, I feel fine today, I'll skip it. But the purpose isn't to fix what's broken, it's to maintain what's working. Consistency keeps the brain-hand connection sharp. Skipping it weakens awareness, and awareness is prevention. What about warning signs that people should never ignore? 3 stand out. 1. If the hand suddenly feels heavy or foreign, as if it doesn't belong to you. 2. If fine coordination, like picking up a coin or signing your name, suddenly feels awkward. And 3. If one hand cools noticeably compared to the other. That's circulation slowing, not just temperature. These are micro clues, but they're early alarms. Combine them with sudden confusion, slurred speech, or a tilted smile, and it's time to call emergency services immediately. Don't wait for it to pass. Strokes often tease the body before they strike, recognizing that tease is what saves lives. So the real mistake isn't missing the signs. It's doubting them. Doubt is the most dangerous delay of all. When something feels off, trust the signal. The body rarely lies. And here's something else most people don't know. If your knees creak, your hands feel weak, or your legs don't move like they used to, this simple hand test can give you insight into what's happening neurologically. Because the hands are storytellers. They record every tremor, every delay, every flicker of communication between the brain and the body. And when that dialogue changes, it's not random. It's a message. The key is to listen before that message turns into a crisis. This conversation has been extraordinary. A hand movement, something so ordinary, turns out to be one of the most powerful windows into the brain's health. The hands are where thought becomes action. When that bridge weakens, the body hesitates. And hesitation is the earliest sign of neurological distress. If you can catch that moment, you can rewrite the outcome. That's such an empowering idea. That prevention isn't about complicated machines or daily pills, but about staying tuned to your body's own language. This simple movement, lifting, closing, observing, can protect your independence. It's not just about avoiding a stroke. It's about maintaining trust in your body, confidence in your reactions, and calm in emergencies. Those seconds of awareness could save your mobility, your speech, even your life. That's what makes this so meaningful. You're giving people not fear, but agency. A sense that their health is literally in their own hands. And that's the truth. The body never stops communicating. We simply need to keep the conversation alive. Movement is how the body says, "I'm still here." When we respond with attention instead of panic, healing begins long before disease ever arrives. So for those listening, if you take just one thing from today, let it be this: test your hands, trust your instincts, and never dismiss a small sign. That tiny pause, that missed grip, it could be your brain asking for help. And the earlier you answer, the better your future looks. So stay observant, stay active, and keep this knowledge close. Because sometimes the difference between tragedy and recovery isn't luck, it's awareness. Stay curious, stay kind to your body, and remember, strength isn't how hard you squeeze, it's how quickly you respond. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you noticed any changes in your hand coordination lately? Have you tried this grip and release test? What did you discover? Drop your answers in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know before, hit that like button. Share this with someone over 60 who needs to see it. And subscribe because we're dropping more life-saving senior health tips every single week. Real science, real solutions, real hope. Until next time, remember, your hands are talking. Are you listening? Thanks for watching.